Hello, everyone, and welcome to week one of our course. As you get started, I wanted to take a few minutes and give a brief introduction to the unit and talk a little bit about the assignment for this week. We're going to begin exploring an overview of the issues surrounding the transformation going on in healthcare as we move from volume-based system to a value-based system. You may have been talking about this already in some of your other courses, and it's critical for us in this course as we look at how analytics plays into this. So what we will cover this week will set the foundation for the rest of the course. This week, we will look at factors involved, and we will begin to see how analytics is playing a major role as we move into value-based care. Since I first taught this course in 2013, a lot has changed in the healthcare world as we start moving away from volume-based, which is focused on the number of clinic visits or the number of procedures or days in the hospital, and start moving towards a system that's more based on value. We, as both professionals and as consumers, are all more acutely aware of the problems such as high costs, the need to improve quality and patient outcomes. So I think we have all developed quite a bit more health literacy in this area over the time that I've been teaching this course. We've come a long way in understanding how analytics will help us be successful as we move into these value-based approaches. In fact, you really cannot do value-based care without using analytics. Our discussions this week will illuminate the issues and things we continue to have in healthcare despite passing the Affordable Care Act and other legislation that has affected and changed the healthcare system. Questions we will examine this week include: how have we really made any progress toward our goals over the past few years? How do we compare with other countries in terms of a value-based system? And what data can we find to answer these questions, and how can this data be interpreted? It's important to clearly understand these issues we face and how analytics will be used as a tool to help us address them. Using analytics to address cost and quality involves much more than simply analyzing data. In fact, data analysis is really only the starting point. So we want you to become comfortable with the ways analytics are being used and what it will take for organizations to build analytic capabilities further. Based on news about predictive analytics, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, and things like that, you would think everyone is very advanced in their analytic capabilities, but this is not the case. There are wide variations between organizations and even within organizations in terms of analytic literacy and capabilities. As part of your discovery question response this week, you will present some data and give us your interpretation of it. For analytics to make an impact, the interpretation of data must be communicated effectively, and we're definitely going to be working on that in this course. We're looking for you to interpret and communicate about the data. As you prepare your DQ response, think about whether there could be more than one interpretation. In discussion, you might compare and contrast interpretations of the data. Groups may find more than one source of data answering the same question and presenting different interpretations. At the end of this week, I want you to be able to discuss the issues related to healthcare costs in a volume-based system. Describe how accountable care is envisioned to work for healthcare organizations, providers, and patients. I want you to be able to articulate the strategies needed to move towards value-based and patient-focused care. And finally, I want you to interpret and present data describing the impact of healthcare reforms. Okay, a word about some of your readings for this week. The Berwick and Fisher articles will give you a good sense of where we started. It's been a number of years since those articles were written. These people originated the concept, so it's important to still keep reading these articles. They describe the triple aim goals and the concept of accountable care organizations. Accountable care organizations were introduced in the Affordable Care Act and were meant to be the vehicle or structure for moving into value-based systems. Some of the other articles I've provided you with will give you more of a sense of where we are now. So comparing and contrasting these articles should give you a sense of where we have been, where we've made progress, and where we're still facing the same challenges even all these many years later. A summary question to think about as your discussion concludes this week is, what does all of this tell us? If we have data and yet it's not having the impact we would like it to have in terms of our ability to provide accountable care. I've given you articles that discuss some of the issues related to cost in healthcare, and you may wonder, what is the connection between cost and analytics? Every day I read an article about some outrageous thing that has happened to someone with regard to the cost of healthcare. Probably many of you have too. When we think about healthcare becoming data-driven and using analytics to become value-based, it is impossible to ignore the cost of healthcare. If anything, I think we're seeing some areas of healthcare only becoming higher cost. Insurance coverage and medications are prime examples of this. The costs have skyrocketed. So it's a fundamental question to keep in mind for the rest of this course. Is it even possible to have a good patient experience if the costs are out of control? Can we think about analytics in healthcare without looking at cost? I would say no. If the patient was cured, but the cost bankrupted them, can we say the patient got good value? What does that say about the patient experience? A recent article by Commonwealth reported that Americans' confidence in their ability to afford the healthcare they need continues to decline. In 2015, 70% said they were somewhat confident they could afford their healthcare bill. By 2018, it was only 62% who thought they were confident about this. Nearly half of all the respondents in the survey said they would not be able to cover a $1,000 surprise medical bill within 30 days. In the era of COVID that we've all just lived through and are living through, we see that healthcare costs have overwhelmed both hospitals and individuals. The long-term effects of COVID on the U.S. costs in healthcare has only begun to emerge. Experts are estimating that costs linked to the pandemic could climb well into the hundreds of billions in the coming years. These are all staggering facts. And it's important for us because all the effects to using analytics to improve quality and engage patients will have little impact if we're not able to address cost as well. So this week we will get everyone thinking as we begin to explore all of these fundamental questions.